This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. We are joined once again by Victor Ibarra of Pune, who is joining us this time all the way from the sometimes sunny shores of London, UK. But normally you're based in Spain. How are you today, Victor?
I'm very good, Jamie. Pleasure having some time with you.
Now, we haven't seen you since during the pandemic. I believe it was about 3 years ago. How have you been since then?
Um, Good is the short answer. Time flies, doesn't it?
Yes,
So
sure.
we've kept busy, but all good, all good. Hope same
Excellent.
on your side.
Everything is fantastic at this end. We're just enjoying a wonderful Ontario autumn or fall, as we call it here. And
Mm.
today I've been tasting through, over the last hour, I've been tasting through some of your wines. We're going to start off with this one here, which is the Reserva 2019 White Rioja from Cune. Now,
Mhm.
White Rioja, I think I mentioned it to you before, but it's something I don't think we see enough of in this market. And you've always had quite a love affair with White Rioja, and this is a bit of going back to the old style when it comes to White Rioja, is it not?
Definitely. And it's a shame that more people don't know about classic white Rioja, particularly Reserva, which has been aged in wood for a period of time. And it's a style that we at Kune have been, well, do you know, back in the day, we produced more white than red.
Right.
You know, it, people get surprised by this, but we are more of a, historically, we're even more of a white wine house than a red wine house. And again, you know, it's a shame that more people don't know about this style because classic white Riojas can age beautifully and they are absolutely stunning wines, but they've been sort of caught behind by the wave of easy drinking, very approachable, fast made, fast fashion whites from Spain and elsewhere, which is a pity, but there you are.
So tell us a little bit about this one here, because this is 100% Viura, right?
Yeah. So um, Viura is a typical variety from Rioja. It has other names in across Spain. Some people call it Macabeo. Um, you can find it in France as well, but it comes from us, from us in Rioja. And it's something of an understated variety. It's not Chardonnay. It doesn't explode in your mouth. It needs to be fine-tuned. Um, it's more neutral if you want, but it's no lesser a variety because of that. So you just you have to be very, very careful with it. And it responds very, very well to aging in barrel and to work in the cellar. Um, so on the nose, you might perceive white pear, um, vibrant acidity. You can even see that through. You can smell that, and of course, you can taste it afterwards. Uh, and it's been aged in wood for nearly 2 years, mostly French, partially new, partially aged, and it's one of these whites that, to me, it's a throwback to the whites that I have drunk from our house from Cune from 50, 60, 70 years ago. These wines are meant to be drunk with food. It's delicious. It has notes of honey. And it's different. Okay, it's and being different nowadays. It's just in itself. I think it's such an achievement when
Yes.
everything strives to be exactly the same. And there's so many sickly sweet Sauvignon Blancs and other all kinds really of wines that are made in exactly the same style that I just find boring and I'd rather have a beer, to be honest, compared to half the whites that I see out there.
I understand.
I'm so tired of those, and that's what prompted us to bring back this style of white, a classic style Reserva, um, that we have never stopped producing, but we never really bothered showing to people in the Americas because we thought, you know, they want buttery Chardonnays or they want tropical fruit Sauvignon Blancs, and that's just not the case. I heard so often from wine lovers across Canada and the US that look, we want things, we want wines that are more whites that are more meaningful, that have more subdued power, that more complexity, and that can endure. And that's what we try and have here.
It's interesting. This is by no means a thin or reedy wine. It does have considerable weight and texture on the palate, quite removed from some of those wines you were speaking of. It's decidedly dry for sure. It has that kind of
Mm.
nervous acidity, but there's a really nice texture there on the mid palate, which I think possibly speaks to the older vines. It's about 50-year-old vineyard you have here, nine
This
hectares. Yeah.
this this comes from our own vineyard. We harvest more vineyards than anybody in Rioja. We have over 600 hectares of our own vineyards. Nobody else has as many as Cune. Uh, but that in itself is no guarantee of anything. In the end, if the wines don't come from vineyards that you've looked at properly and they're in the right places at the right elevation, and then, very importantly, they weren't planted a long time ago, you're not going to produce something which has a finesse to be able
Right.
to age and last long. Remember, this wine's a 2019. The vast majority of whites that people drink, they were made yesterday, yeah, from the last vintage, and they cannot age. And I think this one just keeps getting better. Yeah, it has a touch of honey, a touch of wax as well. You might have noticed. Um, you can sense the wood, but it shouldn't be overpowering. It shouldn't dumb out the acidity or the texture of the mouthfeel, which at the same time is quite. The alcohol in this wine is 13 plus, barely, yeah, and I think that's the delicateness of wines that are below 14%, I think cannot be understated. There's so many beastly, massive wines out there that I'm just sick and tired of drinking and seeing people drink, that it's so refreshing to see something lower in alcohol.
Speaking of complexities, as this wine has warmed up in the glass over the last hour or so, I'm beginning to get a kind of like fennelly, anisey thing at the end of the palate, which is really quite pleasant. That was not there before when it was really chilled down.
Totally. And I think that's the beauty of wonderful fine wine, is that it's complex and that it evolves in the glass. And as it warms up, you see different things happening. And that's as it should be, but that's why wine is the most civilized drink there is, because it has all this going on and so many of these things open up. And people ask me, what temperature should I drink whites? And the answer is, well, it depends on which type, depends what you're doing, and depends what type of white.
Of
But
course.
normally my answer is just drink it cold, because invariably the wine is meant to be drunk young and quickly. But grand whites need to be drunk not that cold. And I think the trick is to serve it cold in a glass and just let it at room temperature and let it evolve. Don't finish it. Or if you do, serve yourself another glass, but let it open up. That's the key thing, because you see many more things happening in the glass, which I think is the whole point.
Well, having these wines here today have inspired me to actually purchase something I'm going to pick up after I leave you today, which is a small wine fridge beside this table here in my office,
That's a
because
commendable idea.
the white was it was from the downstairs in the basement, from the fridge. It was too cold, and the reds were a little bit too warm. So I need to do some work on that. Where would you see this wine at the dining room table, Victor?
Well, of course, with all fish dishes, um, salmon. Um, the trick with fatty fish and fatty dishes is to go for acidic
Sure.
whites. That's the textbook response. But this one, because it has the aging in wood, uh, it can go. It's more versatile, but it has the acidity also to carry it with fatty fish. So you're good there. You're good with birds, chicken, game. I'd say anything apart from full-blooded steaks, you're
I
not
agree.
in bad
Yes.
shape with this
Yeah.
wine. And desserts, of course.
And you speak about longevity with this. How long
Mm.
do you think the 2019 will improve in bottle?
Well, this wine is modeled on the Cune reservas that my house produced in the 50s. And we still have some bottles of those wines left. And I drink them now. And they have a lacquer finish to them. That they're magnificent. They're beautiful. Will this wine last as long as those? Well, hopefully, I won't be here to see it. I suspect, but but all the fine wines that we produce are modeled on the wines that we made way back in the day. When
Right.
people say, um, you know, I'm inventing the future and I'm creating my own future. I think that's terrific. But in my case, our future is in our past, and this wine emulates the wines that were done not even by my grandfather, but my great grandfather. That's what we aspire to. So the short answer is this wine should go on for decades.
Super.
And even if you drink it sooner, then so be it. I expect you to, but at least it has to be able to do that, you know, to be there for the long run.
Well, unfortunately, I'll be finishing the rest of this off this evening, but I will be purchasing some more bottles in the future. Victor, thank you for joining us at Good Food Revolution today. We look forward to catching up with you very soon.